Welcome to Problem Solve, the podcast where me and a special co-host solve all your problems really easily, probably.
Problems? Are you kidding me? I don't have any problems. Okay, I might have a few, but I can work on them with you. Come on.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. Am I too loud? Testes. Am I allowed to curse?
Uh-huh.
I am?
Oh, yeah. This is an explicit podcast.
Did you start already?
Uh-huh.
Oh. What's your favorite curse word?
Like in the world?
Yeah.
It's not really creative. It's just fuck because of the f that starts with a f and then the and the k,
Yeah.
Fuck. It's just such a fuck. You know?
It's sort of like like.
No.
It's like resonates.
Yeah. It is.
Just be with me here.
What is your? I also like cunt.
Yeah.
The cunt.
Yeah.
The cunt.
Yes.
It's kind of like fuck. Yeah. But I don't use cunt.
Right. Please don't use that.
Yeah, it was canceled. Cancel culture.
Let's bring it back. Bring it back.
We're gonna bring it back. We're gonna use the word cunt in like a really progressive way. Like, you're so cunty, in a you little cunt.
Yeah. Okay.
So grief.
Yeah.
Wait, what's your favorite curse word?
I don't know if it's a curse word. It's just hilarious.
What is it?
Boner.
Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah.
It's very it's a little bit innocent.
I don't know. Would that get bleeped on like TV or something?
It won't get bleeped on your podcast.
It won't.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Doesn't boner mean something? Isn't it like, whoops, I did a boner? Doesn't it like mean something else?
I think it's like, oh my God, you're being such a fucking boner right now. Like, all right, boner. Like dummy, I think.
Is it dummy?
Like, I think you're being a stupid person.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'll go with fuck then.
But it means hard penis.
Ew. Let's keep this appropriate, please.
Sorry. Okay. Welcome back. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah. Why did you come back?
Just to talk about some really light topics.
Yeah, I love talking about light.
Yeah,
fun.
super light, fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're good at that.
Yeah.
And what light topic do you want to talk about today?
Yeah, maybe like grief or, death.
Grief and death.
Yeah. Also, I want to acknowledge that we had a election.
Thanks for acknowledging that. Yeah.
Just a little light acknowledgement.
You guys, we had an election.
I don't know if you've heard, but a thing happened.
Yeah. So lots of grief maybe coming up there for some folks.
Some folks.
For 48% of the folks.
Yeah. But the majority of us apparently are celebrating.
Yes.
Right now.
Apparently. So lots of grief there. A weird kind of complicated grief.
Yeah.
All grief, it might be sort of complicated, but this one is a little more. I was talking to, it's no big deal, but I was on the Dan Savage podcast. Savage.
Oh, who's that? Just kidding.
Yeah, you probably never heard of him. But he was talking about, he was being sad about the election, which is valid. Makes sense. We were having a little therapy session on this. And he was like, the hardest grief that I've ever felt was when my mother died. And he starts being weepy.
Were you like, knock it off?
Yes. This is embarrassing for you.
Get over it.
Yeah. Moms, who cares? But so he gets a little weepy, and then he's like, and with this grief, it feels like I have to deal with like my mom dying every single day for the next 4 years. It's just a constant reminder. At least my mom is dead, sort of thing. And I can kind of process that in some way and know that there's like a finality to it.
Sure.
But with Trumpy grief and where this went, this is just going to be an ongoing thing. And he also, I feel like Dan Savage, he's not listening to me right now. He doesn't listen to me, but he uses me for his podcast. I'm fine being used like by Dan Savage.
Amazing person.
Yeah. he was also kind of like, he kept on asking me, like, how do I cope? What do I do? How am I going to get through these 4 years? And I was like, let's just kind of talk about today and how to get through the feelings now or acknowledge them, whatever. And I feel like he sort of goaded me into this place where it's just like, no, that's not enough. It's not enough. I can't feel better. I don't know what to do. And he eventually was like, it's going to be okay. And he was like, no, it might not be okay. Actually, people might die. People, like, shit might get really fucked up, and it's not okay to say that it might be okay because we don't fucking know. And I was like, you motherfucker, you made me say it. But it came from this, like, he didn't actually make me say that. It just came from like a helpless place inside of me. Of like, I've done everything I can to try to process this man's grief right now in the last 15 minutes. And so it's just like, it's going to be okay. And it might be okay for him.
Sure.
But not for a ton of other people that were maybe listening to the podcast.
Sure.
But it's not such a, I want to sort of like honor that as like, that's a thing that people say. Maybe it's probably coming from a really good place. But not helpful. Possibly.
I think people say a lot of stuff with good intention. When people are hurting or grieving, and it often lands very poorly. But it's also hard to know what to say, especially in a situation like this where we're feeling all sorts of different things, and we don't know whether or not it's going to be okay. So, and even with something with finality, like losing your mother, if that's a really close relationship, it might be hard to know if I'm ever going to feel okay again. I might find ways to make meaning with that or to move on with my life in certain ways, but it might not ever feel fully okay. And that's okay.
That's okay. And grief is like, for me as a therapist, it's one of the trickiest things to treat. Because it just goes all over the fucking place. You can feel all of the emotions or all of the stages or whatever it is in an hour, in a day. And sometimes you feel like you've reached this sort of acceptance sort of space, and then you like get flung back into bargaining, and it is chaotic.
It is chaotic. And I'm in several spaces where we talk about grief, and people always have these really beautiful descriptions of grief. And my go-to is grief is a sneaky motherfucker or grief is a boner. You trademark that, put it on a shirt. Grief is a real boner.
That's a real thinker too. I'm not quite exactly sure what that means, but it's getting me out of my grief just trying to unpack it.
Trying to put grief and boners in the same category. I feel like this podcast is really going to help people.
Is there such a thing as grief boners? Like, can grief turn a person on?
Probably.
Like, I've got such a grief boner for you
Probably.
right now.
I know someone, and I hope he never hears this because I'm outing him. It's not a client or anything, but he really gets off on people crying and their sadness and tears. And he's a good friend, but like I remember calling him one time, forgetting that, and calling and crying. I was like really struggling with something and called him and cried. Like a day later being like, oh no, why did I call him? That is disgusting. Wow, I feel so violated. So
I know somebody who's not a client either, but is a friend, and she's been to a good amount of funerals, and she says that every funeral she goes to, she gets laid.
Whoa.
It is like the place. If you want to fuck, then you
I'm taking notes.
Going to a funeral is going to do it because you so badly want to get out of that grief feeling. And it was on election night. On Tuesday night. And I was like, oh, this isn't going well at all. I really want to fuck. So maybe that is a grief boner. Maybe I just discovered what a grief boner was.
Your quote friend, unquote.
The tricky part was like, how do I get this need met, this grief boner met when my griefy girlfriend is just
crying.
Is just, destroyed. I'm like, can we think about my needs maybe? Can we focus on like the white, cis, hetero? Like, we're going to be doing that anyways for the next 4 years.
You better get used to it, baby. This is a good example, right? Where we can take grief and something really serious and be a little silly with it. I think that's one of the resources, right? That's another way that we can help sort of regulate our nervous systems a little bit is by making ridiculous jokes.
Yeah, I get nervous to be like, ugh, when does it cross a line into being inappropriate?
Sure.
You and I can joke together, and we get each other, and there's like these wide sort of boundaries that we have. So it feels safe to do that with you.
Yeah, it might not feel so funny, especially not yet for other people.
Yes.
And I was telling you before we, hopped on here about some clients that I saw Wednesday. And I don't want to reveal too much, but a lot of my client population are in the LGBTQ plus community and are people that I've written letters for gender affirming surgery. And I had a feeling of just like, I can't face them right now. I'm going to cry. I care about them so much. And that wouldn't have felt appropriate to be joking around with that. It felt very heavy, very serious.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can acknowledge that.
We can acknowledge
too, that we're being extremely inappropriate.
Yes.
So,
but yeah, like you're saying, levity, humor, having fun is kind of like, it's what I worked on my first job as a mental health counselor, like 19 years ago, was working at a crisis line.
Oof.
Yeah, it was not fun, but it was me and like 25 or 30 other therapists that were all taking calls for like 10-hour shifts. And there was so much laughing in between calls because we had to. It felt like we were in the war trenches together. And the only way to survive was to somehow, and we weren't making fun of any of the callers. We were just like bantering jokes with each other. So we're validating and normalizing that. Yeah. But make sure you do it with somebody that gets
that's safe and that gets it.
Okay, quick break from one of my favorite sponsors. So it's been one of those weeks, right? And if you're like me, maybe you're just not ready to dive into all that grief. That is okay. Sometimes denial can be a cozy place to hang out for a little while. And you know what else can make denial a little bit sweeter? Cozy Earth. Imagine this. Getting Cozy Earth this Christmas means giving someone or yourself the gift of ultimate comfort, making it so much easier to hit pause on everything happening outside. Let's talk about their bamboo sheet set. These sheets are basically a soft cocoon that you can disappear into when you're just not ready to face the world. They are temperature regulating and ridiculously soft, so you can stay in bed as long as you want without getting too hot or too cold. Denial? Never felt this luxurious. And for those days when getting out of bed is just not happening, the Cozy Earth Cityscape hoodie is like your all-day, all-denial armor. Pull it over your head, snuggle in, and block out whatever reality you're not ready to deal with yet. It's comfort wrapped in a cozy hoodie. So, if you're looking to gift a bit of luxury or maybe just treat yourself to the ultimate escape, head to cozyearth.com/solved and use my code SOLVED for a generous 40% off. Because if we're going to be in denial, we might as well do it in style, right? And hey, if you happen to get a post-purchase survey, make sure to say that you heard about Cozy Earth right here on this podcast. Wrap the ones you love in luxury with Cozy Earth, or, just wrap yourself in it while you avoid a few things. You do you.
And that gets it. Yeah, I'm thinking back to when I was 21, my best friend died of a drug overdose. And me and his boyfriend, after he died, me and his boyfriend had to go get a suit for his boyfriend. And his boyfriend had not been eating at all out of grief and had lost so much weight and was so tiny we had to go to the children's section to find him a suit. And this was he was a very stylish young man. And the only place that had children's suits was Sears. And so I remember we were devastated. Neither one of us had eaten. We hadn't slept. This is in the first couple days after we found out that he died. And we were in the fitting room and he was trying these children's suits that were 4 inches above his ankles. They were just so awkward. And we were just on the floor, hysterically laughing and crying at the same time.
It's really sweet.
Yeah. And I carry that memory with me as a good example of maybe even in the depths of our sorrow, it's still okay to find pieces of humor and joy or whatever you need to get through it.
Yeah.
It's messy.
It's totally messy. It was one of the first places I went was I'm going to watch the late night shows to see what the comedians are saying about what
Totally.
happened. It didn't really work, which was the weird. Like they were showing pictures of Trump, and I was like, I don't want to see his fucking face.
Right.
I don't even hear his voice right now. If like he's not taking office until January 20th, so I'm gonna really try to not experience that man for as long as I can.
Yeah. Yep.
I have questions here.
I know, which we've actually sort of covered some of them.
Have we?
Sort of. I don't know.
One of the questions was, what are some of the most unexpected ways people experience grief? Are there ways that people have experienced or like, oh, wasn't expecting that, but cool, like go for it?
I mean, nothing really surprises me.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a wrong way to grieve unless you like go hurt a bunch of people, which I haven't seen. Some of the more unexpected, feelings that people go through, sometimes people feel relief. That can be after someone's been suffering for a long time. A lot of times with, really persistent mental health conditions or, drug addiction or things like that, there can be a sense of loss and also relief at the same time. And people are like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person for feeling relief. Right. There's a lot of guilt. People can feel irritable. I know for me this week, I brought notes today because I'm just cognitively like, as is evidenced in our, we started this out too. I'm just sort of like all over the place.
You're acting like a real boner, actually.
I'm such a boner today. So I don't think that there's anything that's like wildly inappropriate. I think
Here's
sometimes
one.
people,
Hold on.
I
got one for you.
What?
Because and it's something that I have felt a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
And it was at my grandpa's funeral and my grandma's funeral. Both felt it there. I was just like a little jealous that they're done. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
That they're in the next place.
Yeah.
Or I imagine spirit world to be just a party, nonstop party. And it's like, ugh, why can't I? Yeah. So it's jealousy kind of?
Yeah. That's really interesting you bring that up because I was sharing with you just a minute ago that my mom's partner died last week. And I had some jealous. I was like, oh my gosh, he got to go out before he had to go through like the election or like anything else that's going to come after because of this election. Like he just got to yeet out of here. Is yeet still cool?
Oh, it's so cool.
Okay.
The way you say it too is extra cool. Yeah. So keep saying that.
I was a little like spitty when I said it too. I don't know if that came through on the microphone.
Phlegmy yeets, I think. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
Anyway, grief.
Jealousy.
Jealousy. I think that can be, and I've heard clients talk about that too, whether it's from loss. Also, like sometimes they hear that a friend of theirs has gotten a life-changing or life-ending diagnosis, and they feel jealous because their friend now has this thing that, they like that's their ticket off the planet.
Oh, I thought you were going to say their like friend gets all the attention and they don't.
That probably happens too, but that's not the example I was thinking of right now. I know before we were talking about pre-grieving too, and I don't know if that's sort of like appropriate to this particular question, but that's very common for like if there's a expected loss to pre-grieve. I did this for years with my dog. My dog got a diagnosis where they said you have 2 to 6 months, and she ended up living almost 3 years.
Oh. But
I spent years just like every day just being, oh my gosh, I'm going to pre-grieve. Every time I look at you, I'm going to cry because I just love you so much. And I'm taking care of it now on the front end.
So when the dog actually passed, you were fine.
Totally. No, I was a disaster. It did not help at all. And so that's what I try to remind people too. If we have this loss that's coming, as much as you can, pre-grieving, if you have to do it, okay.
There's probably something to it.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Although in the case of like the election, a lot of people were, I'm preparing for the worst.
That was me. Yeah.
That was you. And I was preparing for the ultimate best. I was convinced. And I also, when I was preparing for the best, I was like, I could be wrong. But this feels great.
Yeah.
I love how I'm feeling right now.
Sure.
I'm so hopeful.
Sure.
And then it happened, and I'm just as fucked up as everyone else who prepared for the worst.
Yeah.
So they tried to prepare for the grief.
Yeah.
And you can't really understand how it's going to hit you until afterwards. And it's actually done, whether if it's a relationship, a person, an election.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really one of the things I'm grieving is the loss of telling my child that Kamala won. I had this like fantasy of waking them up in the morning and just being like, good news, sweetie. Like the candidate you wanted to win, since you can't vote, won the election. And I had to break the news. I sort of said, do you want me to tell you, or do you want to hear from the world? And they said, I want to hear from you. And I said, Trump won. And this is so sad. Okay. And they went and looked out the window scared and then held themselves and backed themselves into a corner looking terrified.
Oh, God.
I know. So
devastating.
It's devastating. Yeah. So I was like, wow, you just acted out what so many of us are feeling right now.
I feel like just don't have kids, right? Like, you don't have to have this conversation.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Good for you. Some of us already have them. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Way to go, Boner.
Yeah. No, just kidding. They're the best thing that ever happened to me.
No, kids are great. We love kids.
Yeah.
Kids are, and it's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way they responded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then later said like, oh, thank goodness I'm not a pregnant person. And I was like, wow. Jesus. Well, for multiple reasons. Yes. Yeah. You're 9.
God.
So... But anyway.
The pre-grief, it feels like a natural thing to do. I'm protecting myself. Yeah. I'm dipping into those feelings beforehand, test them out. It's sort of the sandbox where I can play with the grief, the sadness a little bit, and leave if I ever, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think it's a natural thing. It makes sense. And it's not really preparing you for the the totality of the grief. Yeah. So what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Whatever.
Get a grief boner.
There you go. How many times can we say that?
I don't know. Someone should tally. Whoever guesses correctly wins a prize.
Yes. So what role do like rituals, either personal or cultural, play in the grieving process? Are there any unique or therapeutic rituals that you recommend to your clients?
Yeah, I mean, grief is so personal. Grief can provide some sort of structure in this really sort of chaotic, messy experience of grief. So, and there are like there are cultural rituals that can be a little more structured. Grief is such a personal experience though. So you can pull from, if you have cultural traditions, or, you can have your own. So, some like fan favorites, I guess, are like, lighting a candle on anniversaries.
Sure.
You can write letters.
Yes.
You can create a special space. Some people might call that an altar, with things that, remind you of that person.
How about when somebody dies and then you dream about them?
Yeah.
Are they visiting you in your dream?
I can't answer that. I've had really dreams where I really have very traditionally been an important part of my own grief processing. I love when I feel, so whether they're visiting me or it's just my brain creating it, I don't care. It feels really powerful to be able to visit with someone that I love.
So it's like a really healing experience.
It can be. For some people, it can be really jarring or upsetting. Sure. I know I've had a dream about the friend I was talking about before, where he had his arms wrapped around me and he was like hugging me and holding me. And then I woke up and realized that he wasn't there. And I was like deep in my sad again, even though it felt really nice for him to visit me. So it can be healing, but it also can feel like, ouch, when I wake up, this person's not here anymore.
Yeah, you're re-experiencing their loss in a way.
Yeah.
For sure. And then, some classic rituals in our neck of the woods are like funerals.
Yeah. Memorial services.
Yes.
Yeah. People will often on the anniversary when they lose someone will do like a visit to some of their favorite places, so like a pilgrimage walk. I like sort of like pilgrimage food journeys or something. I'm like, what did the person like to eat? Maybe you can like eat all of their favorite foods that day and think about them.
So what do you want to happen when you die?
Ooh.
Like, do you want a funeral? How do you want to be buried? Or do you want to be
I want to be composted, which is a very eco-friendly thing. It's a process in which you're put into sort of like a cell. I don't know what to call it, but like a box with natural materials, and your body is, naturally decomposes and makes this really rich, fertile soil, which your family can then take and use to put in their garden, or they can plant it in a tree or something like that. I don't think I need like necessarily a placard with my name on it for people to like remember me. I don't feel like I need that.
No. Okay.
But I would hope people have a party.
Sure.
That would be cool.
Like you want them feeling good, honoring your life.
They can feel sad too, but you know, like whatever they need. I probably won't be that involved. I'm not really sure.
You might be visiting in spirit mode.
Sure.
Like ghosts sort of hanging out and listening to the speeches.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to haunt some people. That would be great.
Eulogies. Yes.
Yeah.
You should definitely haunt people.
With like big chains and bad music.
Yes. Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, if I die and my partner doesn't, if I'm the first one to die, then I'll let them decide whatever they need in order to. You're a little more selfish. I'm selfless, and so I'm kind of like, whatever you need, my family or people that care about me, friends, you get to decide. You can stuff my body full of whatever. You can like put me, on strings. I can like hang down from the ceiling. And
that sounds fun.
Yeah,
it can be really healing. This is going to maybe sound weird, but to spend some time with the body after someone dies.
Oh, I can't. I've never. There's something. I feel like there's been only a couple times where I've gone to a funeral and they've been like, do you want to? Well,
that's. I mean, if that's an embalmed body, that is weird. I think embalming is weird. It's weird. Yeah. They put all sorts of stuff. I don't even know exactly what they're doing, but it does not look like the person anymore. And I mean, like directly after someone dies, I think this can be particularly helpful for parents who've lost a child to spend some time with their, I remember that was the worst part. I sat vigil by my grandmother's bedside after she died. And even though she was declared dead, she was gone. It was like very peaceful to have her body still there. And I actually held it pretty together, not purposefully, but the second they took her body away, I was like, no, like I want don't take her away yet. I'm not ready. So yeah, hanging out with the body can be okay. Maybe they're stuffing you full of Fruity Pebbles or whatever you were thinking.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Okay.
Oh, God, I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah. Maybe that can be your final your final experience of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah. So how do you differentiate between grief that's evolving naturally and grief that feels stuck or unresolved? What are some of the signs that it's time to like seek additional support? This kind of comes from I feel like there's, like you said, there's kind of like no wrong way to experience or go on the path of grieving. But sometimes we see clients or friends where it's just like, you're going to avoid forever? Is this what you're going to do? It seems like you're kind of stuck in not addressing the big grief in the room. And so it feels like as a therapist, we don't have to do anything, I guess, but I feel like I have to kind of get the client to just bump up against the grief. Like, let's just sort of feel it out a little bit. Like, or explore why you maybe are continuing to tell me that you're fine and everything's okay. And that it's probably some form of avoidance, but it's such a gentle and delicate process.
Do you want me to actually answer, or do you want to just keep?
I'm just going to keep on talking for the rest of You fucking boner. You go ahead and fucking, yeah, I guess I'm talking to you, expert.
I don't even remember the question at this point.
You told me before we hit record, you better fucking talk a lot.
I know.
Stop talking a lot.
All right, I know. I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah,
I'm just
it's good.
doing a boner with you. That does not sound the
That's
way
the
that
wrong
I
way
thought it was going. To be clear, we're not doing a boner together right now.
What was the question?
About stuck grief.
Oh, stuck grief. Can you tell me what stuck grief?
Yeah. First of all, I don't think it's your client or your friend's fault. We live in a culture that doesn't talk about grief, and most people say,
I do blame all my clients
you do.
for
I can see that. So
right,
I'm trying to shame you a little bit.
Thank you.
Stop.
I need that.
We don't have a lot of spaces where we're able to grieve and be held in our grief and be able to talk about it openly. So depending on the person, their culture, their own upbringing, what their grief presentation looks like, it's probably not their fault that they're not able to face it, or that they might be, quote, avoiding it, or, I recently did a psilocybin session with someone where it was an older person. I want to be really careful with how I talk about this, but he just cried and grieved the loss of his wife for a little bit. And I just sat with him. We had our hands on each other and we just cried over her loss because of his age and because of the expectation of him to not grieve and just to be okay with it. That's a normal thing. When you're old, you lose your wife and, get over it. He hadn't been given space to say like, wow, I really miss this person. So that would probably be like sort of quote, stuck grief, but when given the right environment, he felt safe to express that and was able to go, wow, I guess I really needed that. So I think we're trying to be more intentional. I think whether your grief is stuck or not, you should seek resources that allow for you to process your grief. I think we have to seek out those intentional spaces because Americans are not very good at any sort of complicated feelings. We're sort of like, get over it. Stop being such a boner.
Yeah, go to work.
Yeah, go to work. You get 3 days of bereavement.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I haven't looked at a DSM in so long, but I know like complicated grief is a thing. I think after like a year, they might have changed it.
I still think it's a year.
But like, I'm sorry. Like, it's been almost a year since my dog died. And I am like, literally woke up crying last night about losing her, like there's no timeline on this stuff. It's all complicated.
I think we like to imagine or believe that there's a timeline. Okay, after 3 months, 6 months, at least a year, I will be over this, right? And I'll be able to move on. But it's most likely never something that you're totally over. It's just maybe something that you've integrated, I guess, like allowed space for to come up every now and then. Or,
right. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Someone described it to me one time as like your grief doesn't get smaller, but your world around your grief gets bigger. So you integrate it into other ways, but someone says something just the right way, or you're having just the day and you can be deep in it again.
Do you how do you feel about the stages of grief? Are you a fan?
I'm a fan and I'm not. I think a stage model, again, I think we're trying to take this really big thing that's like bottomless and just giant. And we're like, here's some neat boxes that it fits into. And I think that people assume that it's a linear thing, that, I'm through the anger phase, like one step closer to acceptance. And it's more circular than that. I think it could be helpful to go like, oh yeah, I am feeling really angry. And maybe this is grief because I am feeling really angry right now. But I think it implies that it's, acceptance is the ultimate destination and that you failed somehow if you aren't in a place of acceptance.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I think it's great.
Love it. No feedback. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
Yeah, she's a treasure. There are, classically, when we came up in our education stuff, there was 5 stages of grief, right? But now there's a lot of people that are extending it to 7 stages of grief. Do you know about the 7 stages?
No.
You don't know about the 7 stages?
Is it someone else's model, or they're just expanding on it?
They're expanding.
Okay. What are the other 2?
Okay, so 7 stages of grief. First one, shock and denial.
Okay.
Which is good. We're adding shock to denial, right? Shock and denial. Next one, pain and guilt. Then anger and bargaining, then depression, reflection, and loneliness is all in one. And then the upward turn, where people like may start to feel like life can be better again, then reconstruction. People can take more active steps towards adjusting to life without their loved one.
Sure.
And then acceptance and hope. People acknowledge, work through, and accept the reality of the loss and the grief process, and they'll never be sad again.
Oh.
I added that last little part. But it feels at least a little bit more expansive.
Sure.
But it's still got the same problems of staginess.
Yeah.
And you go through all of them in a linear way.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be
and
accepting.
then and then you'll get to a place where you'll feel great. We don't always feel great. Yeah. I feel like, do you know the stages of change model?
Yes.
There's like that relapse that's built into it, which I love.
Yeah.
And not that it's a relapse to have grief, but yeah, like I think at least with that model, it acknowledges that you can fall back into any of the other stages that you're identifying with. So,
right.
So I'm going to propose an 8-stage model of grief with relapse at the end.
I like that. Next question. How does losing a loved one change a person's identity or outlook on life? And what advice do you give to clients that are struggling to redefine themselves after the loss? So, yeah, your whole identity can change based on who you've lost.
Yeah. It's a transformative process. It changes you, whether you like it or not. It does. It just affects you. So, yeah, it can change your core beliefs, your core values. It can make you think about your own life, your life's purpose. What am I doing with my life? Life is short. Oh my gosh.
Right, all that shit.
We're all on a runaway train towards a final destination. What am I doing? Right?
It makes you confront your own.
Yeah, your own mortality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the more we can be curious and embrace those questions, the better. A lot of times it feels really scary. And like I said, especially as Americans, we're like, uncomfortable feelings. I don't like it. I'm going to go binge watch American Idol instead.
I mean, there's so much to distract yourself.
There is.
You could just lay in bed and be on your phone and they can never take that away from you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But it is also an invitation. Besides being a sneaky fucker or a boner, grief is also one of our greatest teachers.
Oh, I've heard this
before. It is. It can be if you allow it to be, right? I know that I would not be on my life's course if I had not lost the people and the things that I had in my life. And I try to remind myself that when I'm in the throes of pain, especially of fresh grief, that it does have a transformative quality. And, can I allow myself to be close to that? And can I make friends with this teacher?
Sounds very mature.
I'm super mature.
Yeah. So, and also maybe like allow it to fuck you up for a bit.
Yeah.
You don't have to fight it.
Yeah.
It's okay
that's like messy. When I'm in like fresh grief, that's like one of the only times I allow myself to really take time off. So.
Yeah. I have noticed that this week with the election grief that people are just, fuck it. Nothing counts.
Yeah,
every
totally.
day's a cheat day.
Yeah, every day is a cheat day. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm having like pizza and ice cream for breakfast and just being like, fuck it.
Yeah, yeah. I made like 2 different pieces of content. One was like, here's 10 ways to take care of yourself in a healthy way. And the other one was like, every day is a cheat day. Yeah. And that one just took off.
Yeah, everyone was like, this is relatable. Yeah.
There's something liberating and freeing about, this is so hard. So I'm going to allow myself like radical self-care sort of thing.
Yeah. There's a show, I'm trying to remember the name of it. I think it's called Kathy and the End of the World. I might be getting the name wrong. It's an animated thing. Oh. And the whole premise is that this big meteor is coming towards the Earth and people have an exact countdown of how much time they have left. And it's really interesting to see how different people, I know it's like a funny cartoon thing, but it's actually very relatable. So maybe that could be a helpful resource. I apologize if I got the name wrong, but
I'll look into it.
Yeah.
Would you want to know like the date that you're going to die? If someone could tell you.
No.
No?
No.
Why not? How much wonderful planning could you do?
Yeah, I think that's why. I think I'm already so close to doing work with death all the time. And I've been like that since I was a very young child. So I've always sort of been really faced with my own mortality and not knowing when, and sort of the not knowing helps me have just a little reminder every day of like, wow, I want to make sure that I like do at least something every day that makes me feel really alive.
Gross.
I know. And not everybody has to do that, by the way. That is sort of, I'm trying not to be toxically positive at all. But for me, I know that feels, and sometimes that thing, it's not like, oh, went to a theme park today. Sometimes it's just like, I want to make sure I take, 2 minutes to look into my child's eyes and just let them know how much I love them and how much they mean to me.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
Thank you. Very sweet.
I'd want to know exactly when I was going to die.
I know you would.
Yeah.
What would you do with that information?
What wouldn't I do with that information?
Plan the biggest celebration.
Yeah. I don't exactly know, but I think that, I don't know. I feel like a part of me would feel at peace, but then another part of me, I guess, would be really worried coming up to that date.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very big fish of you.
Yeah.
Do you know that movie?
A long time ago.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember, I actually just watched this recently, so it's fresh in my mind. He goes and there's a witch in his town, and if she lets you look in her eye, you can see how you die.
Right.
And because he sees how he dies, it makes him very brave through the rest of his life.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That makes
so
sense.
he's not scared to do all the scary things.
Yes.
Yeah.
What if somebody said, you are going to die in 48 hours and you have unlimited resources?
Yeah.
What are you going to do in those 48 hours?
This is so adorable, but I just want to hang out with my family.
Really?
I really would.
You don't want to like get high or do crazy sex things or go to travel on a private jet to do one last thing.
I probably would rent like a really beautiful place on the coast and just
on the Oregon coast.
Yeah.
That's the best you can do. An Oregon
I don't know.
coast.
I only have 48 hours. I can't,
That's the thing,
I don't want to.
You don't want to travel.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to fly 14 hours somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
It cuts into my time. So somewhere close and just spend time with my family.
Yeah. Barf.
Maybe eat some good things.
What a boring answer.
I'd probably do some sexy things. I don't know. That's
You're just
for my
saying that
private.
now.
That's private. Do boner things.
Grief boner things.
Grief boner things.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
What would you do?
I don't know if I can say publicly.
Oh, so you had me do it.
There would be, I'd probably do like some Molly, maybe the whole time. Yeah. Why the fuck not? There would be like lots of sexy things I would do with my partner.
On Molly, yeah.
It's hard to get it up. It's hard to do a boner.
There's no such thing as a Molly boner.
No, there isn't.
Maybe the grief would like overtake it. And...
Right. Grief boners. What's stronger, grief boner or Molly? We need to.
This is for another podcast. Yeah. Another day, another podcast.
But then I might. I'm not going to say. I'll tell you offline.
Oh, whatever.
No, I will. Some people aren't going to know. The audience won't know about it.
All right.
But I'd have a lot of fun. I'd focus on fun, and I would also not see some of the people that I don't like, so that they could be hurt. I would want to like hurt people emotionally.
Vindictive.
Yeah.
Like just to let you know, I'm purposely not talking to you.
I still have a lot of like spite in my heart, and I'd want to exercise that.
Yeah,
because
it's beautiful.
Once you get to spirit world, I don't imagine that you still have spite.
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to like really experience it as a human in this physical world, because I won't be able to access it when I'm just like an angel, right?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I'll consider that in case this scenario plays out.
Please do.
If there's anybody I still want to spite before I become a perfect angel.
Really think about it.
Yeah.
Another question. Sometimes people grieve losses that society doesn't fully acknowledge, like losing a pet or a friend. How do you address these types of grief in therapy? And do they feel different than losing a family member or partner? Lots of people kind of like put different type of weights on how hard you should grieve something.
Sure.
So tell us, like, what's the least amount of grief you should do for a thing, and what's the most? So I want to like a scale.
You need a scale. Yeah. A scale of grieving.
And go. Do it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a term, it's called disenfranchised grief, which is like grief where society does not fully recognize it. There might be other terms for it too, but that's the term that I know. And I can speak from my own experience. Losing my dog was like, I could start crying right now. Like that was one of the deepest losses I've ever had. And, because it was an uncomplicated relationship. It was completely pure and uncomplicated, and I never had to question it. There was never arguments. There was never bad, you know what I mean? Like, so I was able to fully, deeply love and attach to someone else in ways that I'd never been able to for the rest of my life. And it taught me a lot about attachment. So, you know what I mean? Like, I grieved. I did not know I could feel something that deeply. And so for me, if someone is having a grief process that maybe other people don't understand, I want to validate that as much as I possibly can, because that, for whatever reason, that feels deeply meaningful and purposeful for that person. And generally the depth of our love is a measure of how much we grieve. Not always, but it very much can be. So if you loved someone or something very much and felt very attached to it, that might equate to a lot of suffering in your grief. So there's something beautiful in that too. I remember laying in my dog's bed after she died, crying. This is so sad. Just like sobbing, like hitting the walls, and then having a moment where I started like laughing, and I was like, "Oh my God, I just love her so." Like I feel this bad because I like loved someone this much. Yeah, like that's so beautiful. So.
Yeah, it's such an unconditional.
It's unconditional, and for so many of us, they're like family. They are family, you know? Sure. So it's equal to or greater than losing a family member. So, and this can go for other things too. Sometimes we lose a job, or we don't get into the school we wanted to get into, or, you know, the candidate that we thought was going to win presidency
the death of our
just
democracy.
got like clobbered, you know? Like, I think sometimes we can go like, why am I feeling this thing? So much, but it's completely valid. And, you know, it's important to find spaces and seek support.
I'm trying to think of like a grief that you would roll your eyes at. What about, and I would never do this, but I feel like you might. The grief of your team losing in the finals or something, like where your sports team doesn't win the game and you're so sad. You walk out of the stadium just dejected. Would you roll your eyes like, get the fuck over it, guy?
No, because if people are feeling attached, that my partner is a sports person, so secretly, I'm very ashamed, but secretly, secretly a sports person.
What teams does he like?
Oh God.
Do you even know? Are you a good partner?
Philly teams.
Oh God, he's a Philadelphia fan? You should have told me that. No, that is such a red flag.
So what are the Sixers?
The Sixers, the Eagles.
No, I don't know about the Eagles. I don't know that I hear that.
So he doesn't watch football.
What's the one with the orange? Gritty. What's his name?
The Philadelphia Flyers.
Maybe
the hockey team.
The red. Don't they have Red Wings?
Oh, no, that's Detroit.
You can tell I'm a very good partner, but I've never rolled I'm like, oh yeah, that really sucks. You were like, you know, I don't think that that's on the same level as maybe losing a family. Maybe for some people it is.
I can't believe you just said that.
Maybe
I'm a sports boy.
Are you a sports boy?
Oh, I am a
You're obviously not a Philadelphia sports boy, but
I would kill myself if I was a Philadelphia sports boy. Those fans, I am okay with saying those are the worst fans in all of I think that your guy is great. Like, we love him.
Sure.
But do we? Now knowing that he's a Philadelphia fan.
I'm not a sports person, so I don't even know what this stuff means.
He gets it. He understands. If he's a Philadelphia fan, this is not interesting to anybody. So but there's sports grief. And so we're going to acknowledge it.
I think anything that we feel attached to, we can feel grief.
And, when, my team, the Chicago Cubs or the Miami Dolphins or the Portland Trailblazers, those are my teams. Whenever I talk about, why are you about to laugh at me?
I'm laughing because I don't know what any of that. I'm like, what sport are we even talking about?
When they play, I say things like, we are going to win today. Yeah, we are struggling. Yeah. Like, I'm talking like I am part of
those
this.
Those are your people. Yeah.
Yeah, those are my, yeah. So when we win, I'm excited. When we lose, I'm devastated. And there's like so much grief in a stadium of 20,000 20,000 people.
For sure.
When we all lose together.
Well, and there's something connecting about that, right? Not just rooting for someone, but also like being together in the loss of something, right? And that's what can happen with grief too. And again, I keep talking to my dog, but I remember feeling after my dog died, I was like, oh, I think this is the first time I've grieved where I feel like I'm grieving with my family. I'm not alone. And there was something really beautiful in that too. Anyway.
I'm still listening.
Your sports grief is valid.
Thank you for validating that.
I can't relate to sports teams. I was very sad when the Soft Moon, which is a music artist that I love, died. Unexpected death. Like I can relate to that. I think that's like similar where like, and I felt like other people that were fans were also like very devastated and, so, and I don't like know this person. I've been to a couple of his shows, but but I felt very like devastated after that.
I get it.
Yeah. I
experience grief when my favorite like podcaster goes on a break for 3 months.
Dan Savage?
No. My favorite podcaster is Rob Harvilla, and he has a podcast called 60 Songs That Explain the 90s.
Ooh.
But he's done so many more than 60 songs.
Yeah.
And he is the same age as me and has the same childhood that I had. So listening to him feels like kind of narcissistic because like it is me who is like giving...
narcissistic?
Could you imagine?
Weird.
Right. And there's grief when your favorite show comes to an end or something.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just grief all the way down.
I grieve every week when the Great British Bake Off it makes me wait another week for another episode. Yeah.
I guess all grief matters.
It does. It does. It sounds a little Trumpy of you. Some grief matters more than others. Okay. Marginalized grief matters more than your grief. Okay.
Okay. Fine. I got a couple more questions for you, and then we're going to wrap up.
Okay. You did like a donkey from Shrek.
That's exactly what I was going for.
I am all over the place today.
Yeah, you are fucking out of control, Lindsay. Many people experience physical symptoms when grieving. What is your perspective on how grief affects the body, and how can people care for themselves physically?
Yeah, I think it can be I was telling you that this morning. I'm like, my body just hurts right now.
Yeah.
So it can be a very achy process. I don't know the science behind it. There probably is some science about inflammation or poor sleep or, poor nutrition or whatever is happening. Definitely cognitive things are happening. But
do you ask people like, where do you feel it in your body?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. It's like a favorite question.
It really is. It's trending.
Yeah.
It's trending. God. I like to say, where does it live in your body?
Where does it live?
Where is it? Where is it living? Where is it hanging out? Is it okay if we hang out with it for a minute?
Oh, God.
Yeah. Somatics 101.
I love it.
Yeah, but absolutely. That's not an unusual thing. Or having like a lot of fatigue, whether that's from just dealing with so much pain or not sleeping well, not eating well. So yeah, I think if there's ways, I'm sort of like, what do we do when we have a cold, right? Like, how can I be gentle with myself, right? And there's things like grief massage and other somatic things where like you can help move it through a little bit, or just tend to it and say like, hey, I see you, body. You're asking for some TLC right now. So yeah, that's a really common experience of grief, especially in children. A lot of kids might be like, yeah, right. Everything's fine. I'm ready to go play, but I've like such a bad tummy ache or I've got a headache.
Kids with their tummy aches.
I know. I had a tummy ache this week too. I don't want to give the details, but I was like, this week is affecting me. My tum hurts.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's why I've been farting a lot.
Or just because
I like to fart.
Because you like to fart a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Last question.
Ooh.
Are there ways to incorporate the memory of a loved one into daily life in a healthy way? How do you help clients find balance between honoring and moving forward?
Yeah.
Like moving forward, I guess, yeah, I was reading as like moving on, but moving forward is fine.
Sure.
Yeah. We should all be moving forward.
We should just get over it, is what you're trying to say.
How do you just like shut the fuck up already about it? Yeah.
Saying that is really helpful. Like, could you just stop?
It's been weeks.
It's been 2.5 days.
Yeah.
Just get with it. No, I think that, incorporating a loved one's memory can serve as a bridge between honoring their memory and also moving forward with your life at the same time. So there's all sorts of ways people do this. I was just reflecting the other day, I do this with tattoos. Apparently, like my body's becoming this like living memorial of people I want to stay connected to. And not everybody has to go out and get tattoos, but like people will wear jewelry. I often wear my grandmother's scarves with me if I want to be thinking about her, or have, things around my house, little, altars, if you want to call them that, little spaces. But there can be, just sort of daily reminders that can help you carry that person with you. I think we can do so in our actions too. I often say that best friend that I referenced before that I lost, like he's probably 95% of why I chose to go on this career path that I have in multiple ways. I do a lot in his honor. In fact, I wrote a letter to his parents probably about 2 years ago, just saying, just to let you know, I still carry him with me and everything that I do. I'm still always thinking about him, and I'm helping other people with their mental health. I did a lot of mushrooms with him too. So that plays into, and we had really beautiful like times together on, psilocybin. Yeah. So like, I really do. I carry him with me after it's been almost 20 years now. So, I think there are ways to do that. I'm trying to think of what would be an unhealthy way
to incorporate a memory. Yeah. To do murders.
Sure. This person would really want me to murder lots of people.
Right. Yeah. Not the best way. Then there's this grief on top of grief on top of grief. Yeah. That's the whole thing. I think people are fairly intuitive, right? And I think that if we have more spaces to allow for grief, then, that really does make way for healthy expression and connection with other people. Yeah. You did great.
Thank you.
So good.
That felt like a blur.
Yeah.
I apologize ahead of time if I said anything wildly inappropriate. I probably did, but you know what?
Nothing
Whatever.
Matters.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Who cares? We're all going to die.
We're all going to die.
So we're going to leave you with that. Nothing matters. We're all going to die. Grief, boner, 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 boner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you. Oh, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah. So there's multiple ways to find me. Yeah. If you're interested in my psilocybin work, I work out of Immersive and Seven Gates. At Seven Gates, we're actually putting together some really cool grief groups and resources right now. So if people are interested in spaces to do that, I'm not affiliated with Project Circle, but they also have, that's another service center that has a lot of really cool grief offerings and things like that. And then I'm also a psychologist, although I'm your neighborhood inappropriate psychologist. I'm not really taking new clients right now for that. But I am around, and I'm always happy to connect people with other resources or grief resources as well. I'm doing a lot of end of life work and stuff too. So nice. That's me, and I'm sure you'll link my website and all that stuff.
Yes, we will.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.